Hi, and welcome to What's the Worst That Can Happen. I'm your host, Abby Whitaker, and today I'm so excited to have one of my dear friends, my business mentor, my life mentor, here with me, chatting all things Dante. So welcoming Dante Amato. Like I said, she has many, many beautiful things, and I'm going to get her to introduce herself.
Oh, thank you, my love.
No worries.
I'm Dante. I am an intuitive business mentor, transformational life coach, spiritual guide, and host of my own podcast called Soul Conversations.
Amazing. So many beautiful things. Can you dive a little bit deeper into what exactly all those things mean?
So I use a myriad of modalities and tools to help women in business unlock all of the magic from like the back end of their mind. We do a lot of work around limiting beliefs, traumas, childhood stuff, upbringing, programming, conditioning, because something that I have found, especially in the last few years working with high-level business women, is that you can have all the strategy, all the business planning, all the marketing, the budget to invest in things, but if you don't have the magic that happens in here in your mind, then you're really limiting yourself and your potential. So what I do is I take a lot of different modalities and trainings and use them to clear out all the stuff that is keeping you where you are and not allowing you to move forward to where you want to go. It's pretty magical.
Yes, I can attest to that because I have experienced it. Amazing. And obviously it's quite like a interesting role or I don't want to call it a job because I feel like it's not a job. It's a purpose, a vision, a path. What has brought you here? Can you give us a little short snippet of a background of how you got into be your own boss and have your own business?
Yeah, so I think it has been a journey of a lifetime. I'm someone that has had a million different jobs, and I've always found myself in the position where I will do a job and I love it, and then when I don't love it anymore, I will move on. I used to actually think that I was really hard on myself about that quality in me, and I would say things like, you can never finish anything, you always quit things when they get hard. I grew up in a pretty traditional family where you just go to university and you get a degree and you go and get a corporate job. But for me, it was always about how jobs felt. And I actually didn't really feel like I had a lot of attachment to them other than the experience that it was giving me at the time. I understand now that actually just has a lot to do with my human design, but also I feel like that was kind of my purpose to experience a million different jobs and careers in very different industries. And along with the transformation that my life has gone through on a personal level, all of those things have contributed to the work that I do now because, and I say this in a really authentic way, I literally teach the life that I've lived, all of the things that I've experienced in my own life. And it has just led me here, which feels like exactly where I'm meant to be.
I love it. And did you ever feel like when you were first sort of starting out, did you ever feel like, was this your first business? Did you have businesses before this? Were you always entrepreneurial? Did you come from a corporate background? Like what kind of like picture did you have or yeah?
I have worked for somebody once. I always say to my husband, like, I would just be the worst employee right now because I just love to have the freedom of working for myself. And even in my 20s, I was a massage therapist and I had a business where I specialized in pregnancy massage and I did mobile work. So I was always like working for myself, even as a fitness trainer. And I've worked in natural health. I've always wanted the freedom. My core value is freedom. So I understand that now that I was literally just trying to get what I value the most in life. And I have created businesses just from ideas and just from the desire to create something. I don't feel like any of them have not served me in some way. I've learned a lot from that. But I got into coaching through actually building a pretty successful network marketing business. And what I realized through that business is that it wasn't so much the sales and the team building that I enjoyed, but I was absolutely so drawn to mentoring women. And in a business capacity, it was great. But what I felt even more deeply resonated with my own purpose was to mentor them through transforming their lives. And so
Amazing.
I went from network marketing 4 or 5 years ago and just on a whim, like decided to create my first group mentoring program. And I remember just being so excited about that. I sold like 10 spots into this 12-week program. And I literally remember like having full body goosebumps for weeks thinking like, this is it, you found your thing. And that was 4 years ago. And I actually cannot imagine doing anything else. Like I feel like I'm so at home.
Amazing. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Would you say that this is like, is this the thing that you've done the longest?
Yes.
Like you stuck to the
Oh my
longest?
gosh, 100%. And you know what's really funny, Abby, when you say that? There is never a day where I think about not doing this. Like, no, you know, I'm not really loving this anymore. I know that it's so cringe, but it actually doesn't feel like work for me. And I would do it for free. Like I would do this until I take my last breath, knowing the impact and the ripple effect that it has.
Yeah.
Honestly, like hand on heart.
I love that. I love it's like that saying, which is corny, but I actually love it, is if you do what you love, you won't work a day in your life.
Yeah, and you know what? Until you've actually experienced that, it does sound so cringe, but it exists. Like it's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I just had like a funny little thing come into my head because I've been working a lot recently, and sometimes my 3-year-old says to me like, "Mummy, what are you doing?" And I try to be honest with her. Like I'm like, "Oh, Mummy has to work today," but I always feel like this little like thing because I'm like, it doesn't feel like work. So maybe I'll just start saying to her like, "Mummy's going to live out her purpose today." Mummy's going to go change some lives today.
Yeah, and you know what? It's really funny. We're about to head off to Bali for a month, right? And all my like friends and family and whatever, they're like, "Oh, like, do you have to work while you're there, or like you're taking a holiday?" And I will be working while I'm there, but I actually don't feel like that's a bad thing. Like I'm actually really excited just to be able to work from Bali, and it's not like I can't take the time off. I don't want to. Like I took a month over summer off, and I missed my work so much. Like I really missed it.
Yeah.
So I think that we've just been conditioned to accept that work feels hard, or that it's not meant to excite you, or it's not meant to play a vital role in your life. But the thing is, like, all of us have a soul purpose to do with the work that we do.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what that work is. It's like really allowing the conditioning to fall away to find that thing. Because, I mean, imagine, Abby, a world, getting a bit deep and meaningful.
Love it. Go for it.
Imagine a world, though, I think about this all the time. Imagine a world where women just could feel completely at home in their purpose and doing that without any like external obligation or idea of what a successful career had to be like. I certainly would never have, when I was growing up, a job like this. And it's so funny because my dad passed away a year or so ago, and even like I laugh about it now, I still don't really think he understands what I do.
Yeah.
Because it's just not a traditional corporate role where you go to work 9 to 5 and come home and like you're waiting for the next promotion or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
I literally have created a business where I just get to do what I want, similar to you, right?
Yeah.
You just get to create what you want to create. And
Yeah, totally. I think that there's elements of that in my business, but then there is elements where it's very like, because it's like very structured, like a Pilates studio is something that people understand, or a training academy is something people understand. I feel like sometimes from those older generation who don't really get the other stuff, like that gives me the validation I need from them because
100%.
you know, like my parents like, "Oh, we're so proud of you," but like they're proud of me for like those things that are like, you know, traditional in society more so than like the other kind of like work I do, because probably same as you, like they just don't get it. Not because they don't think it's valuable, but they just don't understand the world that we're living in now.
No, and I think their generation didn't have, they didn't have coaches. Like employing a coach, a life coach or a business coach, you know, potentially in a corporate environment where it was leadership coaching or something. But, you know, I know my parents don't understand how women pay money to chat with me in their words. Like, "Yeah, what do you mean? Like, people pay you just like to talk."
Yeah. You're like,
There's a little bit more to it than that, but
yeah, totally. Now you mentioned values before. One of your core values being freedom, or maybe your main core value. I would love for you to talk a little bit about your values and also how important sticking to your values or understanding, aligning to your values is for someone in business.
my goodness, how long have we got?
All day, baby.
I honestly believe that understanding your core values and being able to actually action them in a strategic way in your business is the secret to having a business that's not only successful, but one that you're obsessed with and one that you want to show up in every day. We are designed to be in our best frequency. Like, that is when we're most successful, most magnetic, most fun, most joyful, most productive, energetically, when we are aligned with what we're meant to be doing. And if you don't understand what your core values are, firstly, I think you can feel like you have a lack of direction, or you might not be clear on what you're building and why you're building it. But if you can discover what your core values are, and sometimes that takes some work, especially if you feel like you're a little bit conditioned or programmed to maybe external validation, or, you know, the way that you've been brought up, or an idea that you have what success is meant to look like. But if you can find out what yours are, completely accept them, and then use them to be the thing that drives your business, it's literally like a recipe for success. So I discovered that my core value is freedom. And so every business decision that I make, I ask myself, will this make me feel more free? Will this give me more freedom? And if the answer is yes, then I pursue that further. If it is something that makes me feel restricted or limited or constrained, it's a no. Because when my freedom is challenged in any way, I instantly feel frustration, resentment, and really lack of inspiration. And that's not me in my highest frequency.
Yeah.
So that's my number one. And it's almost like so far above all the others that the others are kind of like irrelevant.
Yeah. And I feel like freedom, because one of my core values is freedom as well, but I feel like it's in many aspects. So it's like freedom, financial freedom, freedom in my lifestyle, freedom in my relationships, it's like freedom in all ways. And so essentially it is kind of like multiple values, right? Because it's like freedom, but it goes into a few different buckets.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is that freedom is not important to everybody. Sometimes it is financial success, like that abundance and wealth is something that's really important to people, and that will drive the decisions. And the thing is, there's no right or wrong. There's no better core values than others. It just is. And part of that is really owning your truth and being honest about what's important to you. And all of the women that come into my life, a lot of them feel like things have become misaligned in business, or like it's just not feeling as good as they want it to. And I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, they are pursuing something or chasing something that is not aligned with what's important to them.
Yeah.
And this is the space that I work in. It's like you can have success, but then is it something that feels good? Is it something that you want to keep turning up for every day?
Yeah, totally. And I can totally talk to this. As you know, when I came to you, I don't know, 6 months ago or 5 months ago, I had everything that I could want, you know.
On paper?
On paper, 5 businesses, white picket fence, healthy child, nice husband, you know, like everything I could want. Yet there was something I couldn't put my finger on that was creating a huge amount of depression and lack of energy and misalignment, I guess. And I think like one of the biggest takeaways, or one of the biggest realizations I had during our first few weeks together was that there was a few things in my businesses that were just not, they were quite aligned, but they were just a little bit off my values. And acknowledging those, making those changes, has now made me good again.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't wanting to show up, but I knew that I loved what I did, but I wasn't want to show up, and I didn't know why. So that, like, I can definitely talk to that and say that your work has definitely helped me realize that and realign to those values, let go of the noise, and what the people pleaser, the expectations.
Yeah.
And I invite you to feel free to talk into my journey if you want to. Yeah.
I think there's two parts of this that show up a lot, and that is the values part, which we've spoken into. Women not being really clear on the reason that they're building what they're building. But this whole other aspect of us just being so busy and in our head and strategic and task focused, and because we're building businesses, right? I get it. But none of that energy drops into our body. And so there's a disconnect that's created between how we feel and what we think. And when we're just running on the brain, on the masculine, we fall out of sync with how we're feeling. And that is like a course correction that needs to happen quickly, because the longer that you're feeling like that, that's when, especially for women, like our emotions and our feelings are one of our superpowers. They are. And I will challenge anyone who will say, like, women are too emotional in business, or don't let your emotions drive your business. I will challenge that conversation every time, because I think healthy emotions are just guideposts. They're just street signs. And they're just like, hey, I'm just trying to tell you something over here to get you feeling really aligned again. Our emotions are how our body speaks to us. And so along with understanding the core values and having a kind of clear framework about what we're building, the stuff that happens in the body is where the magic is. And I feel like most of the time we disconnect because there's work to be done. It's limiting belief work or wound work or trauma healing. That's the only reason that we're not listening to our truth and to our body.
Yeah.
Yeah, and avoiding that is far easier than actually doing the work, which is why anytime any woman steps into my world to do the work, I'm like, high five.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Yeah. I think a long time ago I realized that, or I can't remember, someone I worked with said to me, this whole concept of like instant gratification, and how in our age today, it's like we're so used to like getting things like that we don't really have, well, maybe we haven't valued as much putting that work in, or understand that sometimes choosing the easier option now is going to be the harder option long term, or having the hard option now is going to be better long term and easier long term. And I think that it's so important for us to understand that. And I think that the people who do start to step into like the harder versions, or like, I don't know, I guess you guys call it like the shadow work, you guys. I guess you guys.
People like you.
People like you. Shadow work, or, kind of like pushing into the uncomfortable a bit more, is the people who are seeing like big changes and living, a life that they, without, outside things like depression and So,
Well, I mean, you would feel that, because it certainly didn't feel easy for you, right?
No,
When we were in the thick of it.
definitely not.
What does it feel like now moving forward?
Well, I feel like I have a practical knowledge that doing that work now is much better. Like everything feels very easy for me now at the moment, and I almost feel like I can't really, like I do remember, but it's almost like I can't really feel how I felt back then.
Wow.
But like, I think that when someone told me that like years and years ago, it was to do with like even like simple things like getting out of like a bad relationship, or a relationship that's toxic. I was in a very toxic relationship, and I kept going back, because it was like a bipolar. It was like good and then it was bad, good, bad. But it was very much a comfortable spot for me. And it was this concept of like, okay, it's giving you like instant comfort and then it's going toxic again, versus just feel very lonely, sad, all your feelings, and have that really hard period, but then you just get to choose somebody who is good after that.
Every single pattern that we have that's keeping us in a place that feels limiting. So like the bad choice that we keep making, the sabotage behavior that we have every time when that thing happens, like we just get to that point and then, we ruin it for ourselves. Like every bad behavior and pattern that we have because it's serving us in some way. It's giving us something that we desire. And if you can uncover what that desire is, it's normally toxic, but it's giving us something either that we never had or that we're craving or that a limiting belief is telling us that we need. When you can uncover that, it's literally like cutting this cord between you and the bad behavior, and you can literally just put it down. It's one of the most transformational like methods that you can have in your life, because you're only doing that thing because your brain is telling you that it's familiar. It's kind of messed up. I say this to my clients all the time. Can I swear?
Yeah.
It's kind of fucked up how our brain works, because our brain is not designed for us to thrive and to be fulfilled and happy. Our brain is designed to do what it believes to be familiar. And so that familiarity is built around what we believe subconsciously. And those subconscious beliefs that we have are formed when we are too young to have any kind of maturity or rationalization about life, right? So many people, yes, have experienced traumatic childhoods, or even if people don't think they have traumatic childhoods, we've all got stuff, right? And we have these perceptions of what our life was like as a child. We perceive certain situations. That child brain perceives it to be a way and creates a belief about themselves from that thing. And those beliefs we carry around for our entire life.
Yeah.
And they're the things that fuck us up as adults.
I have personally experienced this.
Right? And
Yeah.
it's like, it's our brain. When you think about how the brain works, the brain is just looking for proof every single day and evidence that that belief is right.
Yeah.
So you will, you know, like I say all the time, you will find what you're expecting to find.
Yeah.
Like your life will be whatever you expect it to be.
Yeah.
And if you believe that you are not worthy, or if you believe that you're hard to love, or if you believe that you're not one of those people that will have money,
Yeah.
then your brain is going to show you evidence of that every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually remember when I first got together with my husband at the start, all these like sabotage things started coming up. And I basically traced it back to like when I was a child, and we were talking about this earlier, is, you know, I run like an abandonment kind of belief or theme. And, you know, I think part of that was just due to my parents doing things like sitting us on different tables at lunches, and it was like kids table, adults table, and like how I don't feel like I had a traumatic childhood at all, but that was something that formed those beliefs. But then for my sister, for her, it was like, fuck yeah, we get, well, obviously her 6-year-old brain wasn't saying fuck yeah, but she was like, yes, we get to like sit on the table without the adults watching over us and micromanaging us. And I was like, oh, why aren't we good enough for the adults? And then when I came into this good relationship, I started to like sabotage it, because my ego or my brain was like, you deserve to be abandoned. So like make me right by doing things that are going to make him leave.
100%. And this is how fucked up our brains are. They will literally create behaviors in us, and we will subconsciously co-create these situations. So we play a part in creating this for ourselves so that our brain can go see,
Yeah.
this is right for you, this is familiar for you, this is what happens. It's crazy when you think about it. I was speaking to a client last week and she had this realization, and it's the best and the worst, because you come to this point where you're like, it's all on me. The good news is it's all on you. The bad news is it's all on you. It's this self-responsibility where you're like, it's literally I need to start teaching my brain a different way of believing.
Yeah.
Because like nothing is ever going to show up for you to the contrary unless you consciously start to intercept all of the behaviors and beliefs and thoughts.
Yeah. So speaking of beliefs, we're hearing a lot about manifesting at the moment. I have my own thoughts on manifesting.
I don't know if I've spoken about
We've
this
never
with you. Are we
spoken
on the
about
same
this.
page? Or, okay.
I don't know. I'm
Things might
actually
be getting
just
spicy.
curious to hear your take on, because my take a little bit is like, if I just sit here and go, okay, I'm manifesting something, like, no, in my opinion. I'm like, it's not going to happen just because I'm like sitting here going, I'm manifesting this. It's like you actually have to, I feel like it's more of that deep belief that is what people are doing when they're manifesting. So they have that deep belief and then they go make it happen. Tell me what you think. And if it's different, that's fine. We'd love to hear it.
It is exactly. You cannot manifest something by thinking. You manifest things. You actually can only manifest what you believe to be true. So if you just like sit with that for a second and you think about the things that you're trying to manifest, do you actually believe them to be true? Are you able to expect them? Because most people are like trying to manifest money. That's the first thing. And love. They're the two top things that people try and manifest. And most of the time it's not turning up because you actually don't believe that you can have it or hold it or be that person. So there's this my manifestation process is very much based on the quantum. Because what we're doing here in the physical world is one thing.
Yeah.
But what is happening on an energetic level when we're manifesting is so much more important. And I do not believe that you can manifest before you've healed.
Yeah.
And so there's this like pre-work module that people aren't doing. They're just going straight into the like, okay, this is what I want for my life. I'm trying to get here. This is the thing that I want. I want this much money every month. I want this job, this partner, whatever, car. But the truth is that the reason that it's not showing up is because they don't believe on a deep level that they can have that.
Yeah. Okay, great. You summed it up beautifully. So we are on the same page.
We're on the same page. You will never manifest anything that you don't believe that you can have.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. And there's a lot of work to do before the manifestation period. In all of my courses, in all of my coaching, manifestation is the last thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, like, it leads beautifully into our retreat, which we're talking about, which is, you know, that you need to kind of like figure out what's going on in here, set those beliefs, do that work before you can really propel in business. And this is something that I obviously have had the experience with. Can you talk a little bit more into that?
Yeah, so I think in my experience within my coaching business and with my clients is that there gets a point in business for a lot of women where they feel very unregulated. They're not sleeping great. Their focus is off. They can tend to have some physical symptoms in their body, whether that is like they keep getting sick or they're feeling run down or they've got aches and pains. And they're definitely not functioning in a way that is going to promote growth in their business. If you let that go, it can look like burnout. It can look like more like chronic illness that you just can't get rid of. Depression, anxiety, overwhelm, panic attacks. I've seen like women in full-blown daily panic attacks. And what I believe is that there is a point in time where you need to expand and stretch your nervous system capacity and its ability to regulate itself, especially when you're having quite steep growth, because you you just can't hold what you don't have capacity for, right? And so
Yeah.
it's almost like a muscle, it's a fitness, it's an endurance where you have to really nurture your nervous system to a point of calm when it feels like it wants to freak out. And, I talk about this like being in an ice bath, right? You get into an ice bath and your system is freaking out and it's telling you to get out of the bath. So this could look like in business, something incredible is coming for you, or you're about to get this great opportunity, or you're really ready to like invest in that next growth thing. And your nervous system freaks out and it's like, get out of the ice bath. And so you abandon, stop, can't do it, freak out, get sick, manifest something sabotagey, And really what you need to do is to be able to sit in that panic with your nervous system and completely soothe it.
Yeah.
And so the work that we have done together, there was a lot of that for you. And we've recently been on a retreat together where we could really see how that works for women as well, teaching them how to nourish their nervous system. But in Bali, what we're going to be doing is combining these two things at the same time. So we're going to be putting the mind and the masculine and the business planning and strategizing and growth and expansion into practice at the same time as regulating the nervous system, creating rituals and daily practices for the guests to take home to be able to do it. And what I have seen in my experience is if you can do those two things at the same time, it's just like this beautiful explosion of growth and abundance that happens, and it feels really good.
Yeah, totally.
It doesn't feel freaky.
Yeah. I was just going to say, sorry, I was just really excited about it, but I was just going to say I feel like it's also being able to do it at the same time. It's like you're throwing people into a real life situation where the stress, the pressure, the planning, the growth, all those things that come with a business are happening, and you're integrating and embodying those tools for that nervous system to be able to kind of regulate, so that, because sometimes I've found that you learn these tools, but then when you're in the real life situation, which is where it's come in amazing for me having you there, because in a real life situation I've gone like, oh my gosh, I'm having a panic attack or whatever, like I'm going through the situation, and then you're like, okay, ground yourself, do this, try do this. How are you feeling about this, doing this? I want you to do this. And that's allowed me to be able to embody it and fit it in and prioritize it in those real life situations. And now I just have so much more capacity over on the business side. And I've seen my business grow. Like since we started working together, I've opened 2 new studios, so much. And I've done those both without burnout, which is amazing, because I've been able to put those tools into practice. And I feel like when I've allowed those tools to slip away a little bit, like maybe particularly in the last month, just because I had a really hectic month with sickness and I've noticed the change. Like I've noticed, okay, I'm feeling like I'm starting to slip into burnout. Okay, let's put these things back into place. And that's what I've been doing the last 10-ish days, and huge difference. I feel re-energized, revitalized.
Yeah, it's really I feel like it just should be taught at business school. Like it's a very masculine way of doing business, being disconnected from your body. And women especially, that is our bodies are our creation centers. It's where we have our best ideas. It's where we become aligned. It's where our magnetism lies. And I think a lot of women just don't have the resources or knowledge to connect the dots.
Yeah.
Because in any time we're doing something new, so if you think about your business and every time you do something new, which for you is probably every day, your brain is going to say, this is not safe, this is not safe, this is not safe, right? Because your brain just wants to do the same thing every day and not have any change. And so when your brain's saying that, your nervous system gets heightened. And like it's so simple, like you literally just tap in at that moment and regulate, whether it's with some breath work or some grounding or whatever tools that work for you. And what you're doing in that moment is expanding the capacity of your nervous system to hold that fear. And so it doesn't freak out and sabotage you and remind you about all of your limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
And bring up all the stuff and create all the reasons that you can't do it. And so that is where, you know, for me, like business starts to get really good because it's just that gradual stretch rather than a freak out and a fall down and a let's get back up.
Yeah.
You have less missed opportunities. Your health is better.
Yeah.
I believe you become more magnetic because a regulated nervous system is hot as for abundance and manifestation. And I just feel like not enough women get taught how to do both at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like once you're burnt out and fucked, you go learn about nervous system regulation, you know?
Well, maybe because half the time you get, like when you do, that's awesome that you get to learn about it. But like half the time you get burnt out and then people just say, oh, you need to take something off your plate, or like maybe you shouldn't be doing so much. Like that's sort of like the thing, or oh, we're going to go get like medication or this or that. But it's never, so I mean, it's taken me a lot of years to find you who's actually taught me about how the two work together, and kind of put those puzzle pieces together. So, yeah, I mean, sorry to jump in, but I just feel like, yeah, people get burnt out. Half the time they don't, or probably more than 50% of the time they don't go and find the nervous system regulation. Because
or that level of burnout becomes the new
norm
standard. Yeah, like this is just how it is meant to be. And it's so beautiful, you know. I have women come into my world and we work together for a little while and they're literally like, they make me cry because they say like, I just never thought business could feel this good. You know, like we just accept it being really hard. And as women, and this is very general, but most of us have children and families. This is where the ripple effect of this work really gets me in the heart, because I don't want mums going home yelling at their kids and being resentful to their husbands and not having the time or not having the physical capacity to be in healthy families and healthy relationships, and like have it all just, everything just gets a bit messy and a bit, and then the mum guilt, and then the guilt about, is there something wrong with me? Like, why can't I do both? And, you know, I'm going to quit my business because it's not worth it, or all the things. Like it, for me, it's just, it's life changing, not just business changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Me too.
It's so true. Okay. Changing gears here a little bit. What are a few tips, maybe 3 tips that you could give to anyone who was interested in moving into the coaching space? You know, if they were, sort of like looking to
Become a coach?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Wasn't expecting this question. Okay. Probably not what you're going to expect.
Okay. Love it.
The first part of this would be to know that your story is enough. Your story will actually be your superpower, whatever that is. And you learn more about your superpower from doing life than you do from doing courses.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, probably, gosh, I don't know, 12 or 13 years ago, when I started my healing journey, my personal healing journey, my very first healer said to me, when she learnt about my story, my personal story, she said, Dante, one day you're going to share your story and it's going to become the survival guide for someone that really needs it. And because I actually had no concept really of the actual trauma that I'd been through, I didn't get it. I was just like, who would be interested in my life and, you know, what I've done? But now that I've gone through the process of healing on every level, that is actually my superpower, everything that I've experienced. And no matter what kind of coach you are, life coach, business coach, health coach, your own level of embodiment in your work is far more important than anything that you could learn in a course. That's tip number 1.
Love it.
My tip number 2 would be on the embodiment piece, because I would love to believe that the coaching industry is one full of integrity and truth.
Mm-hmm.
Good coaches, to me, feel true, you know? And so I just want to encourage anyone considering to becoming a coach to embody everything that they teach. Like, just be who you say you are, walk the walk, talk the talk. And, you know, I think people smell fake a mile away, and you don't need to be anything that you're not. And then tip number 3 would be to remember your vision and to remember why you're doing what you're doing. Yeah.
Stick to your values.
Stick to your values. I mean, my purpose is so far beyond helping people make money in business. That's a beautiful byproduct, and that's like the icing on the cake. But for me, healing women means that I'm healing generations. You know, I believe when a woman heals, they're healing 7 generations before them and 7 generations to come. And so whether that is through what looks like building their business, you know, that is a massive vision for me, and I anchor into that every day. And it's the reason that I can show up with so much energy and joy and truth and embodiment and generosity, because it's so much more than creating courses or signing clients.
Yeah. And I feel like those 3 tips that you just gave are amazing, and they're relevant to anyone wanting to start a business, not just coaches. So appreciate that.
You're most welcome.
What are some challenges that you faced throughout your business journey, or like to say like biggest fuck ups? Kind of, we always get to hear the good and the I've got 4-hour work weeks and da 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 da. Not saying that's you, but you know what I mean. Like we're always hearing the good about how people did something and did it so well and da da da. What are some failures, fuck ups, challenges that you faced?
I think my biggest fuck ups have come from when I've stopped listening to my intuition, whether that be signing clients who my intuition has like red flagged, and I've signed them anyway because I've been either in a I just want to fix you, which was an immature way to approach coaching. Like in the early days, I learned from that. Like I just wanted to fix everybody. And I did sign a client who it was a very difficult working relationship, and I knew from the start. Also, for a really long time, I denied the spiritual side of my gifts. And so I was trying to turn up as a person that I wasn't. And you know what? That again, like listening to the outside noise and like taking on everybody's opinion. I've been told multiple times that I just have to stick to a title or like have a very clear job definition and just do that, and that I couldn't be all the things because people would be confused. They're not going to know what you do. And I tried to just be like one portion of who I am. But you know what I've learned, Abby, is that I do about 5 different things really well. And the only thing that's more powerful than those 5 things separately is when you put them all together. And so my biggest fuck up was not listening to my own heart earlier. But you know what as well, like I just see fuck ups as lessons, and that was a really beautiful one to take.
I love it.
Yeah. You know, the little things I think that we all do, like we invest in things because they're shiny and bright. We invest in people or support or coaches because we think that they're going to like do something for us.
You think it's a magic wand?
Yeah, we think it's a magic wand, or like pedestaling is something that I've done a lot. I've put mentors and coaches and other people in the industry that I've watched and thought, oh God, they are so amazing. I want to be like them. When really, gosh, like we are just all so magic in our own uniqueness. And especially in the coaching industry, the best thing that you can do, and I say this to all the coaches that I coach, like the best thing that you can do is discover your own uniqueness and just be that, because that's how you stand out in a market of a lot of coaches.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot, Abby. I find it difficult because I actually have really learned from every one of them. So even though at the time it's felt like a fuck up, they've been beneficial in some way.
Listen.
I'm sure that you are the same.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
your first point about signing unaligned clients or whatever it is, breakups, have you had many with clients? How do you approach them? Sorry, just throwing that in the ring.
Okay. I have only ever had two types of these. One where I have removed myself from the relationship, and one where a client has removed themselves early. Both of these could have been avoided with clearer expectations. So my work is very different, and you have experienced it. It's not for the faint-hearted, and it's not for someone who's not ready. And right in the early phases of me bringing a lot of my spiritual work into my work, you know, and part of that, you've experienced this. Part of that is, Abby, I am psychic. So you can't hide things from me, right? It's very confronting. Remember?
Yeah.
It's very confronting. And for me, it's very powerful because I can see parts of people that they can't see themselves. Not everybody's ready for that. But because I wasn't really marketing myself as that, I think it was just like a misalignment with what this client was ready for. And it felt too uncomfortable for them.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't a misalignment that was clear straight away. It was one that was, realized too late. And the same, you know, when I resigned a client early, expectation. They expected something that I wasn't willing to deliver. And so it's part of life and it's part of business. And I think, you know, if I learn anything from that, I have a very clear expectation outline on my application form. I never used to have an application form. So on a really simple business level, that is something that I implemented to stop this from happening again, because it didn't feel good.
Yeah.
My ego took a major hit, you know, because I'm human, and I didn't want my clients to feel like that either. So I just implemented a process to alleviate that from happening again.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. How do you relate that to, I feel like this is a big topic just like in general in the world, particularly among females. Friendship breakups. How do you avoid, deal, not, you know what I mean? I've experienced a couple of these and they fucking hurt. I have not broken up with anyone, but I have been broken up with. And
Same.
First time experiencing breakup, because I always did the breaking up in all my relationships. So I had never experienced what it felt like to not be able to control someone to like me and want to be my friend.
How dare they?
I don't know how else to put that, but like I've broken it down and I'm like, what really triggers me is that I can't figure out what I've done wrong, how I could have showed up different, whether I could or not, and yeah, it just hurts because you're like, you want to be friends with that person, but they don't want to be friends with you. Like, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it does hurt. It's a huge ego hit. There's a lot of sister wound stuff that happens. For me, and yes, I have been broken up with as well, and it's incredibly painful. And for me, though, I have a deep understanding that not every relationship is meant to last long. Every relationship will bring us something to learn from, and the most painful relationships are the ones that mirror something to us that we deeply need to learn and to heal from. I would never avoid a relationship breakup. Like my higher self would never avoid that. Because just think about that for a second. Like your friendships are meant to be something that is equal value, equal exchange, a safe place that you can really be yourself. And like, why would you avoid that ending if it wasn't feeling like that?
I feel like I just want to avoid being friends with the person in the first place, feeling safe with them, feeling comfortable with them, sharing myself with them, if that's how it's going to end.
Yeah. And so, I mean, good luck with that. You'll be a lonely old cat lady.
Yeah. True.
And I think this is the thing. This is what's something that's really important. You're only going to call in friendships into your life that you're expecting. So we all walk around not trusting women because they've shown us that they can't be trusted, or we've had a bad experience, or someone once told us that they didn't want to be friends with us anymore. And that's now what we expect, right? And we've spoken about beliefs and how they work with our brain. And so now you're going to call in friendships that are going to prove you right. And the sister wound is deep.
It's all the way back to what we were talking about before.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. The sister wound is deep, and it's something that is generational, right? Women can't trust women. We burn each other up. We tear each other down, whatever. I would just like for most women to walk around expecting that they can trust other women and that they can show up in their absolute truth, because we try and be likable.
Yeah.
Which is actually, we're just manipulating people around us, because if we try and be something that they're going to like, we're not showing them who we really are. We're creating this false version. And then when they don't like that false version, we take it really personally, but so it's not actually the version of us that we want them to like.
Yeah, true.
You know, you see, it's all like a bit.
Yeah.
So don't ever avoid friendships breaking up. Outgrowing the people around you is a very important part of personal development and growth. You become the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And if you think about it, if you're trying to grow and advance and those people aren't growing and advancing at the same pace, which is fine, there's nothing wrong with that, you are staying there. You're staying in that situation. You can't grow. Outgrowing people is a very painful part of personal growth and healing, but it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, and I suppose it's also because sometimes I think, okay, well, I'm not necessarily growing and they're staying. Sometimes we're just growing in different directions.
Yeah.
And that's okay as well. Like, it's not to say that, you know, being broken up with because I am better or you're better. It's more like, okay, well, maybe we're just growing in different directions.
It's just time. And you know what? The only time that you're really going to be sad about someone not liking you is when you also don't like you. Like when you really like who you are and someone is like, I don't like you, it's different. You're like, okay, well, I like me.
Yeah, true.
When someone says, I don't like you, and it really hits you, it's because there's a part of you that's true for too. And you're like, I don't really like this part of me. So if you think about this person that you were trying to be friends with or they didn't want to be friends with you anymore, I guarantee you at that time there was a part of you that you also didn't want to be friends with.
Yeah, that's true. It was. I'm the accountability queen, so I'm always like overtaking I take accountability like more so, like I'm quite hard on myself. So I feel like there's a fine balance for me from blaming completely or like, I don't know.
I want you to feel into the energy of responsibility versus the energy of blame. They're two very different things. Blame is very disempowering, right?
Yeah.
Blaming yourself for something feels very disempowering.
Yeah, that's what I feel like that's what I've done in the past.
Taking responsibility for something, even when it feels a bit shit, it actually feels quite powerful. And, you know, the responsibility part, self-responsibility plays a huge part in life in general, in just being an amazing human.
Yeah.
But I think that the way that you frame that can make it feel really different as well.
Yeah, that's true. I like that. Yeah, into it.
Blame is such, like, if you can get rid of any kind of energy in your life to start creating good change, blame is one of them.
Blame is like low frequency, right? Like,
well, it's
same
like
as like
pointless.
shame
Like, what do you get from it?
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I like that. Okay, well, I feel like we should wrap things up. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would like to share today?
Wow. No, I don't think so, Abby. I mean, we could sit here for 4 more hours.
Yeah.
Not on this episode anyway.
No. Okay, amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
You're most welcome.
Really appreciate your time, effort, everything about you. Adore you.
I adore you.
And I will share everything about Dante that we've spoken about, links, etc. inside of the show notes. But otherwise, that's a wrap for today. And yeah.
Thanks, Abby.